Michael never expected the pool to become his sanctuary, yet somehow it did. Every morning just after sunrise he would slip through the tall glass doors of Westbrook Community Aquatic Center, breathing in the scent of chlorine and summer. At 48, he had lived long enough to know that peace is a rare thing, and here, during those quiet hours when water shimmered untouched, he found it. He wasn't fragile or weak, rather he carried a certain calm that only life experience grants. His silver-streaked hair was trimmed short, his build firm from years of swimming, though soft around the edges like a man who had enjoyed life but also fought through storms. Once he was a photographer, a good one. He captured oceans, mountains, faces filled with dreams. But life took turns nobody anticipates. His partner of many years passed away, and the camera that once felt like purpose now felt like memory. So Michael swam. Day after day. Stroke by stroke. Alone but surviving. At 2:10 p.m., long after Michael had finished his morning routine and returned for an unusual second visit, the quiet pool doors opened again, this time with a burst of energy. A young man stepped through like sunlight entering a dim room. His name, though Michael did not yet know it, was Ethan Wright, age 24. Ethan walked with the kind of confidence youth naturally carries, not arrogance, rather an effortless vitality. His backpack slung over his shoulder, hair slightly messy from wind, shoes squeaking lightly against the tiled floor. He inhaled deeply, stretching his arms up as though greeting the world rather than a room of blue water. Michael noticed every detail more sharply than he wanted to. Ethan didn't notice the older man at first. He was too busy enjoying the brightness of the day. He had skipped his morning routine, first time in months. Something he felt had pushed him to come later instead. He didn't question it. Instead, he walked toward the pool edge, humming softly, setting down his towel, placing his phone atop it like a ritual. Michael, sitting at the far lane with his legs in the water, watched. Not with hunger. Not with possession. Just fascination. He reminded himself to look away, but his gaze returned every time. Ethan removed his t-shirt, revealing a toned but lean frame, soft lines of muscle shaped by regular exercise and youth itself. His skin glowed warm under the skylight, and droplets of earlier rain from outside glittered on his shoulders. Michael's heart gave a quiet, unexpected stir. He hadn't felt that in years. Ethan's fingers brushed the edge of his swim shorts as he prepared to step into the water, and that was the moment when his eyes finally met Michael's. Not shy. Not bold. Just curious. Oh, Ethan said lightly, surprised to see someone else there. Didn't think anyone would be swimming at this hour. His voice was bright, a summer afternoon in sound. Michael replied with a faint smile. Habit brings me here. Or maybe peace does. Ethan laughed gently, the sound echoing across still water. Well, maybe I needed peace today too, he responded, lowering himself to sit near the edge. For a moment, neither spoke. Only water rippled between them, soft and inviting. Michael observed him quietly, trying not to stare. Something about Ethan, the way he breathed, the way his eyes reflected wonder, felt like a forgotten part of life. Innocence. Fresh possibility. He remembered being 24. He remembered what it felt like to believe everything was still ahead. Ethan dipped his feet in, shivering slightly. Cold? He whispered, but his grin was wide. You'll adjust, Michael said, voice low, calm. A beat passed, long enough for silence to deepen, not awkward, not empty. Ethan looked at the older man again, studying him openly this time. The gentle lines around Michael's eyes, the thoughtful posture, the touch of silver at his temples. Instead of seeing age, he saw depth. Experience. A kind of beauty young people rarely stop to notice. You come here every day? Ethan finally asked. Most days, Michael replied. That's dedication. It keeps me moving, Michael admitted. There was more behind those words, years of grief, longing, healing, but he did not say them. Yet somehow Ethan seemed to feel them, his expression softening with unspoken understanding. Maybe I could use a habit like that, the younger man murmured, almost to himself. Michael tilted his head. Swimming. Ethan shrugged lightly. Something steady. Something that feels good. Their eyes met. A small current passed between them, subtle but undeniable. Without another word, Ethan stood, walked to the pool ladder, and descended into the water. His body cut into its surface cleanly like he belonged there. His hair slicked back, droplets sliding down his collarbone. Michael followed him with his eyes, trying to remind himself it was nothing. A moment. A stranger. But his heartbeat disagreed. Ethan swam closer, slowly, deliberately, until they were only a few feet apart. The water around them pulsed, shimmering with sunlight filtered from above. Michael felt suddenly self-aware, as though years pressed against him like invisible weight. What could a man of 24 ever see in someone like him? Yet Ethan smiled. Warm, genuine. And that smile touched something deep inside. "You swim beautifully," Michael said quietly. Ethan chuckled softly. "Thanks. You look like someone who could teach me a thing or two honestly." Michael blinked. Compliments weren't new, but they had never felt this gentle, this unforced. "Maybe," he replied, voice softer than before. "If you want, tomorrow I could show you breathing technique. It helps with endurance." Ethan's eyes brightened like struck copper. "I'd really like that." There it was. The smallest agreement. The beginning. They returned to swimming, separate lanes at first, then gradually closer, strokes aligning as though some rhythm linked them. Each time their arms swept through water at the same moment, Michael felt time loosen around him. Ethan surfaced once, laughing as water splashed across his face. "You seemed lonely when I walked in," Ethan said breathlessly, resting near the wall. Michael hesitated, then nodded. "Maybe I was." "And now?" Ethan asked. Michael looked at him, not the age difference, not years lost, just him. "Bright. Alive. Unexpected." "Now," Michael answered slowly, "I'm not." Ethan's smile deepened, gentle and warm enough to thaw winter. Neither knew where this path would lead. They only knew the water around them felt different now. No longer just a pool, but a meeting place of two lives that never should have intersected yet somehow did. The afternoon sun gleamed across the surface like gold. Two men. 48 and 24. Both adults. Both human. Both drawn by something neither could explain yet. It was only the first moment, but sometimes a single moment changes everything. And neither of them would ever forget it. The next afternoon arrived with a softness that felt intentional, like the world had aligned itself gently around two people who were meant to meet again. Michael reached the pool earlier than usual, unsure if Ethan would come. He told himself not to hope, but he did anyway. His mind replayed the young man's smile, the way the water lit up when he entered it. Something inside him had awakened, small, trembling, hopeful. He sat at the same place as yesterday, the far lane where the afternoon light fell in a warm stripe across the surface. For several minutes he simply breathed, letting cool air fill his lungs. The water was peaceful, still waiting. Then the doors opened. Ethan walked in. Not with uncertainty, not by chance. He came with purpose, eyes searching, landing on Michael in seconds. His face lit up as though seeing Michael didn't just please him, it completed something. "You came?" Michael said, surprised by his own voice. "Of course I did," Ethan replied. "I said I would." He placed his bag down, removed his shirt once again, yet today it felt different. Yesterday he undressed unaware of being watched. Today he was conscious of Michael's gaze, aware and strangely comfortable beneath it. Michael tried to look away, but Ethan laughed softly. "It's okay," he said. "You can watch." The words were light, playful, yet they carried meaning neither dared name. Ethan entered the pool without hesitation, sliding into the cool water like returning to a place he belonged. He drifted closer to Michael until the space between them held only a few ripples. "So," Ethan began, "are you going to teach me to breathe better in the water?" Michael inhaled slowly. A simple question, yet charged with something deeper. He nodded, gesturing for Ethan to follow as he pushed off the wall, gliding through the lane with slow precision. Ethan copied him, stroke for stroke. At first, their movements were separate. Michael ahead, Ethan behind. But soon Ethan matched him perfectly, their bodies rising and dipping with mirrored rhythm. When they surfaced at the same moment, facing each other in the water, their eyes locked, longer than yesterday, unbroken and curious. "Like that?" Ethan asked, breath slightly uneven. Michael moved closer, not enough to touch but close enough to feel warmth beneath water. "Almost. Relax your chest. Let the water hold you instead of fighting it." Ethan tried again. This time Michael placed his hand lightly on Ethan's back, guiding him. A single touch, nothing more, but it sent a quiet spark through both of them. Ethan exhaled shakily. "That helps," he murmured. Michael withdrew his hand slowly, still feeling the warmth of Ethan's skin against his palm even after contact faded. They swam side by side for several minutes, sometimes speaking, sometimes just drifting in silence. Words became less important, presence spoke enough. Every time Ethan surfaced near him, Michael felt something inside open wider, like a window letting in sunlight after years of stillness. At one point Ethan floated onto his back, eyes closed, arms spread like wings. He drifted close until his shoulder brushed lightly against Michael's. The touch was accidental, yet neither moved away. The pool was nearly empty now. Their world was blue water, echoing quiet, sunlight making patterns across their skin. Ethan turned his head, still floating, looking directly into Michael's eyes. "You make me feel calm," he said unexpectedly. Michael blinked. "Calm?" "Yes. Like I don't have to pretend anything." Michael's heart beat once, slow, heavy. "You don't?" he replied. Ethan shifted upright again, his face inches from Michael's across the surface. Their breaths mingled softly. "You look at me in a way that feels honest," Ethan whispered. "Not like you want something from me but like you see me." Michael swallowed. His voice came low, steady. "I do see you." The moment stretched, tense, gentle, charged. Ethan didn't look away. Instead, he leaned closer until their foreheads nearly touched above water. Then Ethan smiled, small and vulnerable. "Let's swim." They took off together, racing down the pool with unplanned excitement. Ethan laughed through water, splashing like a boy, while Michael, older, steadier, matched his pace with ease. When they reached the deep end, Ethan suddenly dove beneath the surface. Michael followed without thinking. Underwater, everything was silent except for heartbeat and movement. Ethan's body glided ahead, hair flowing like dark ink through blue. Michael reached out, not intending to grab him, just wanting to be near. Ethan turned suddenly, opening his eyes underwater. Their faces were inches apart, hair floating around them like underwater smoke. Ethan reached out, touching Michael's fingers beneath the surface. A simple contact, yet intimate, electric. They surfaced together, breaking through water with a gasp. Ethan laughed softly, breath warm on Michael's cheek. "That felt." He searched for a word. "Connected." Michael offered. Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes, connected." For the first time, Michael let himself feel it fully, this strange new presence in his life. Ethan with youth like morning light. Ethan who found comfort in him instead of distance. Ethan who touched his hand again, this time above the water. Just a soft press of fingers. Nothing forbidden. Just two adults close enough to feel possibility. Michael didn't pull away. The connection wasn't loud. It wasn't sudden. It grew like warmth spreading through cold water, gentle, unstoppable. And when they finally left the pool that day, they walked out together, towels over shoulders, footsteps matching without effort. Not holding hands. Not confessing love. But something had begun. Something neither could name yet. But both felt with every beat of their hearts. The next 2 days came like second nature. Morning sun, echo of water, and the unspoken expectation that they would see each other again. But on the third afternoon, something shifted. Michael arrived first as always, but this time there was no quiet patience, only anticipation. He sat near the deep end, towel folded neatly beside him, heart steady but aware. The pool surface lay calm, a sheet of light and color. Then Ethan arrived. Not rushing, not stumbling, confident like someone returning to warmth. Their eyes met before words did. Michael felt his chest loosen, surprised by the relief that washed through him. Ethan smiled, wide, bright, the kind that happens only when you're genuinely glad to see someone. "Hi," Ethan said softly. "Hi," Michael returned. Just a single word each, but more alive than entire conversations. Ethan set down his bag, but instead of going straight to the pool, he walked toward Michael and sat beside him, legs close enough that their knees almost touched. For a moment they just breathed the same air. No rush. No performance. Only presence. "I was hoping you'd be here," Ethan admitted, voice gentler than usual. Michael turned his head. "You were?" "Yes." Ethan didn't hesitate. "I think about this place differently now. Because of you." A warmth spread through Michael slow as sunrise. He wasn't used to being someone's reason, not anymore. Ethan's gaze moved from the water to Michael's face, thoughtful and searching. "You swim like someone who's seen a lot," he said. Michael chuckled under his breath. "I have. Time tends to show things." Ethan leaned back on his hands. "Tell me something you've learned." Michael considered. The pool shimmered like a mirror reflecting years he rarely spoke of. "I learned that you can lose things and still survive," he answered. "But it changes the way you breathe." Ethan was quiet for a moment, really listening, not just hearing. Then softly, "That sounds like pain." "It is," Michael said truthfully. "But there's beauty after it if you're willing to look." Ethan's eyes softened. "I want to understand that someday." He wasn't afraid of depth. He leaned into it, curious, open. And Michael felt seen in a way he hadn't for a long time. After a stretch of silence, Ethan stood and extended his hand. "Swim with me." Michael looked up, at the outstretched hand, at the open invitation. Not just into the water but into something steadily forming between them. He took the hand. Ethan smiled as he helped him up, fingers lingering a second longer than needed, a second neither of them tried to end. They stepped into the pool side by side. The water welcomed them, warm from afternoon sun. Ripples spread around their bodies like slow exhalations. Ethan swam ahead, then turned, facing Michael with that same youthful ease. "Teach me something new today," he said. And so Michael did, not just technique but rhythm. The quiet art of moving with water instead of through it. Ethan followed every instruction closely, his eyes never drifting far from Michael's. When Ethan practiced floating, Michael placed his hands gently beneath his back to support him. Ethan's eyes fluttered closed, trusting, breath slow. "You feel safe," Ethan whispered. Michael studied his face, the ease, the surrender, the quiet. "I'm glad," he said. Safety is a good place to begin. Later, they rested by the pool's edge, shoulders touching in a way that felt natural, not accidental. Ethan kicked his legs lazily in the water. Michael watched the ripples dance. "I keep wanting to ask things about you," Ethan murmured. "Ask," Michael encouraged. "Okay." Ethan turned, eyes bright with that earnest hunger for connection. "What do you love most in the world?" Michael paused, not because he didn't know but because the truth surprised even him. "Right now," he said slowly. "Moments like this." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The simplicity of the answer carried weight. Then Ethan smiled, a slow spreading smile that reached his eyes. "That's my answer too," he replied, voice warm. "Being here. With you." A quiet settled between them, not empty but full of everything unspoken, everything building. The air was warm, the water gentle, and the distance between them felt smaller than the space of a heartbeat. They talked for almost an hour. Not dramatic confessions, simple things. Favorite books. Music they swam to. Childhood stories. Dreams not spoken aloud before. And every sentence drew them closer, like threads weaving two lives into one slow pattern. At one point Ethan laughed so hard he leaned his head against Michael's shoulder. Michael froze, not with fear but with awe. Ethan's hair was damp against him, his breath warm. Michael didn't move, didn't want to break the moment. "You don't laugh enough," Ethan said gently, still resting against him. "I forgot how," Michael admitted. "Then I'll help you remember." It was a promise disguised as a joke. But Michael felt it land deep. He turned his head slightly, just enough that his cheek brushed Ethan's hair. It was the faintest touch, yet intimate as a confession. Their closeness didn't ask permission. It simply was. Eventually Ethan lifted his head but didn't move far. He looked at Michael, eyes searching again. "Do you feel this too?" he asked softly. Michael didn't ask what this meant. He felt it clearly, the gentle pull, the warmth and silence, the way water seemed to shape itself around them like approval. "Yes," Michael said, steady and sure. "I do." Ethan exhaled like someone relieved. "I'm glad. I didn't want to imagine this was just in my head." "It isn't," Michael said. They didn't kiss. They didn't rush. Instead, Ethan reached for Michael's hand underwater. And Michael held it. Not tightly. Not possessively. Just with quiet certainty. Two adults, two lives, aligned without force. And that warmth, soft, blooming, unmistakable, settled between their fingers like something sacred just beginning to grow. The next week unfolded like the slow turning of a page neither of them wanted to end. Every afternoon, sometimes early, sometimes late depending on schedules, they met at the same pool. Not by arrangement but by understanding. Their footsteps echoed softly on tile, their towels unfurled beside each other like two lives laying open, and the pool welcomed them like memory repeating itself with intention. At first they swam. But soon it was less about swimming and more about sharing space. Michael taught Ethan longer stretches underwater, how to glide like breath moving through silence. Ethan learned quickly, eager, determined, yet playful enough to make every instruction a moment rather than a lesson. One afternoon, as sun cut golden through the skylight, Ethan surfaced beside him, laughing breathlessly. "Look," he said, brushing water back from his hair. "I stayed under almost as long as you this time." Michael smiled, not at the achievement, though it was real, but at the joy lighting Ethan's face. "You did," he answered. "You're getting better every day." Ethan's grin softened into something warmer. "It's easier when you're beside me." Michael felt that sentence like touch, soft but unmistakable. Their conversations deepened too. Sometimes they talked about trivial things, favorite food, movies that made them cry, embarrassing childhood moments. But other times the dialogue quieted into something weightier. Michael spoke of his photography years. Mountain ranges at dawn, lovers holding hands in train stations, the ocean rising like a heartbeat. Ethan listened with bright, attentive focus. "You see the world differently," Ethan said once as they rested poolside, drying in the warmth. "Like every moment matters." Michael gazed at the surface of the water, remembering years both full and empty. "Every moment does," he replied softly. "We just forget to notice." Ethan reached out, barely touching Michael's fingers. "I don't forget when I'm with you." Michael breathed slowly to steady the rush of feeling. On another day Ethan arrived carrying 2 iced coffees. "For you," he said, handing one over. Michael blinked, startled. "You didn't have to." "I know," Ethan cut in, smiling. "But I wanted to." They drank together in the quiet heat, condensation dripping down plastic, fingers brushing when Ethan passed napkins. Small things, tiny gestures, but each one built something stronger than words alone. Later in the water Ethan swam closer than usual. Close enough that Michael could feel the shape of him beneath the surface, the warmth of him, the movement of limbs brushing past. They didn't touch deliberately, but sometimes their arms grazed underwater, light and fleeting like spark against skin. The world outside the pool felt distant, irrelevant. Here there was only water, 2 bodies, and something blooming between them like slow summer. One afternoon the facility was unusually empty. Their laughter echoed without competition, and the silence in between felt like an invitation. They floated near the shallow edge, bodies drifting closer as if drawn by gravity. Ethan's tone softened, darker with vulnerability. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "You can tell me anything," Michael replied. Ethan looked at him, not shy, not uncertain, but open in a way that asked to be held gently. "I think I like you more than I expected to," he said. "More than I planned." The confession fell between them like a ripple, soft but impossible to ignore. Michael's breath paused. He had lived long enough to know that honesty is a door once opened, cannot be easily closed. "Ethan," he said carefully, "I feel something too. I just want to be sure you know what you're stepping toward." Ethan came closer, close enough that Michael could feel the warmth of his presence even with water separating their chests. "I'm not afraid of you being older," Ethan whispered. "You worry about time. I'm thinking about now." Michael hadn't realized he'd been holding the pool ledge until he let go. He drifted toward Ethan slowly, nothing forced, just movement shaped by feeling. Their faces hovered inches apart, not touching, just existing in shared breath. Michael could see droplets clinging to Ethan's eyelashes, the rise and fall of his chest in shallow water. "You make me feel young again," Michael admitted. Ethan's expression softened, not with pity but with something fierce and warm. "And you make me feel seen," he replied. "That means more to me than youth ever could." For a long moment they stayed like that, drifting together, silent but full. Not kissing, not rushing, just choosing proximity. Their shoulders brushed. Michael didn't move away. Ethan stayed. It was enough. Over the next days their closeness became effortless. They swam side by side like synchronized movement, sometimes racing, sometimes drifting in slow patterns like 2 comets tracing each other's path. They rested on pool steps shoulder to shoulder, talking about hopes and fears, Ethan wanting to design buildings that felt alive, Michael wishing to find purpose again in his art. One evening the pool lights glowed soft blue against twilight. Ethan floated on his back, eyes on the darkening sky through skylights. "Do you ever think," he said slowly, "that we met because we were supposed to?" Michael watched him, water reflecting against his silver hair. "I've stopped believing in coincidence," he answered. "Or maybe I believe in it more." Ethan smiled, closing his eyes. "Either way, I'm glad." Michael reached out, not boldly but gently, and let his hand rest in the water beside Ethan's. Ethan drifted until their fingers brushed once, then again, then remained touching like it was the most natural thing in the world. Their hands stayed linked beneath water. No force, no rush, just connection. 2 lives moving closer like tides. And when they finally left that evening, they didn't need to speak about tomorrow. It was already understood. They would come back. To the pool. To each other. To this growing warmth neither could deny anymore. The next Sunday was quiet, almost sacred in the way silence held the world. The pool was open late for evening hours and Michael arrived early, drawn by something he couldn't quite name. The space felt different at night, softer, dimmer, as though it expected privacy rather than routine. Underwater lights glowed a deep, calm blue, reflecting gently across tiles like a constellation scattered beneath the surface. He sat at the edge, fingertips grazing water, listening to the low hum of filtration and distant city sounds. He didn't know whether Ethan would come tonight, but he hoped. He always hoped now. And then he heard footsteps. Light, familiar, unmistakable. Ethan stepped through the doors carrying only a towel this time. No backpack, no coffee cups, no rush. He walked as though he belonged here, as though this moment had been waiting for him. When he saw Michael, he paused just long enough for warmth to settle into both their eyes. "You came?" Michael said softly. Ethan smiled, voice low. "I didn't want to be anywhere else." He set his towel down beside Michael's, closer than usual, so close their arms brushed. Neither apologized. Neither moved away. "You look different tonight," Michael murmured without meaning to Ethan's hair slightly damp from light rain, shirt clinging gently to his frame, eyes steady as if carrying unspoken feeling. Ethan breathed out slowly. "I feel different. Lighter. Like something is opening inside me." Michael nodded because he felt it too, something unfolding, tender and fragile but growing bold. Ethan stood, removed his shirt and stepped into the water. Michael followed. They entered slowly, letting warmth surround them inch by inch until their bodies were submerged beneath blue light. Tonight they didn't swim. They simply faced one another, letting silence speak first. Ethan drifted closer, water rippling softly at their chests. Every movement was slow, intentional. The tension between them wasn't sharp, it was warm, gentle, like hands hovering inches apart before finally touching. "Can I come closer?" Ethan asked, though he was already near enough that Michael could feel his breath. Michael's voice was steady as a tide. "Yes." Ethan moved forward until they shared the same space, no distance left for hesitation. Michael felt the heat of his skin beneath the cool water, the steady rhythm of his breathing. Ethan's hands rose slowly, unsure at first, then found Michael's shoulders. Michael didn't move away. Instead, he placed his hands around Ethan's waist, guiding them nearer. Their foreheads met softly above the water. A quiet exhale. A trembling inhale. No words needed. Ethan's voice came barely above whisper. "I've wanted to do this for days." Michael's reply was breath against Ethan's lips. "So have I." Their noses brushed, soft enough to chase doubt away but gentle enough to savor. Ethan closed his eyes. Michael leaned in, not rushing, not claiming, just meeting. Their first kiss wasn't fiery. It was warm, slow, tender. The kind that begins like a question and ends like an answer. Ethan's hand slid to Michael's neck as he deepened the kiss with cautious eagerness, learning the rhythm of it. Michael tasted rain on his lips, youth and curiosity, something fresh and awakening. Ethan felt safety, warmth, the presence of someone who didn't rush or take more than given. Just enough. Just right. When they parted, foreheads still touching, Ethan laughed softly, a breathless, disbelieving sound. "That felt like falling," he whispered. Michael held him gently. "Then fall. I'm here." They didn't stop touching after that, not because of urgency but because letting go felt wrong. Ethan rested his head against Michael's shoulder, arms circling him in the water. Michael wrapped him in quiet strength, feeling Ethan breathe against him, slow and trusting. They drifted like that for long minutes, two bodies, one rhythm. Ethan spoke into Michael's skin, voice soft as ripples around them. "You're gentle with me," he said. "Most people rush. But you take your time." Michael's fingers traced slow lines across Ethan's back, not to claim, just to feel, to know, to learn. "You're someone worth taking time for," he answered. Ethan looked up, eyes shining with something fragile and fierce all at once. "You make me feel wanted," he confessed. Michael shook his head slowly, curling a hand along Ethan's jaw. "I don't want you. I value you. Want fades. Meaning stays." Ethan's breath caught. No one had ever spoken to him like that. He leaned in again, kissing Michael softer this time, less first-time wonder, more knowing. Their lips met and lingered, unhurried, like every second mattered. Michael's thumb brushed Ethan's cheek, gentle as moonlight. Water held them like gravity had loosened. Later, when they pulled apart, they didn't step back. They remained close, bodies touching lightly in the water. Ethan traced circles on Michael's shoulder, smiling with soft contentment. "Did you ever think something like this could happen?" Ethan asked. Michael considered for a moment, brushing a droplet from Ethan's cheek. "No," he admitted. "But meeting you feels like remembering something I forgot I was waiting for." Ethan's eyes softened, depth replacing sparkle. "I like how you speak," he said. "Quiet but full." "And I like how you feel," Michael replied. warm even in water. Ethan laughed quietly, leaning his forehead once more to Michael's. I don't want tonight to end. It doesn't have to, Michael said, voice low. We can stay until the world asks us to leave. So they stayed, floating in slow circles, holding each other, kissing in soft intervals, speaking less, feeling more. Nothing rushed, nothing taken, just shared. Two bodies, two hearts, learning the shape of connection in silence. When closing time finally came, they left the pool hand in hand, not gripping, just holding like two notes in the same chord. Outside, night air wrapped around them, cool against damp skin. Ethan leaned into Michael's side as they walked, head resting lightly on his shoulder. Michael felt younger. Ethan felt steadier. Together they felt something neither had known for years. And beneath the streetlights, before parting, Ethan whispered against Michael's ear. This is only the beginning. Michael believed him. Because tonight hadn't been about desire. It had been about trust, warmth, and choosing one another gently. The first intimate evening. Not the last. A week passed and life moved with its usual rhythm, but inside both of them, everything had shifted. The pool remained their sanctuary. They met there after work, sometimes talking, sometimes just swimming side by side. Neither tried to recreate the night of their first intimacy. Instead, they held it like a shared secret, something delicate that didn't need to be proven again to be real. But warmth has a way of drawing shadows behind it. It was Thursday evening when Ethan arrived late, later than ever before. Michael sat on the edge, heel dangling in water, feeling unease grown from absence. The pool was nearly empty, just the quiet echo of water, the hum of lights, his own heartbeat forming a name inside his chest. He turned when he felt movement behind him. Ethan stood in the doorway, eyes rimmed pink, not from chlorine. He walked slowly like every step cost something. His towel was clutched tight, knuckles pale. Michael rose instantly. Ethan, he said softly. Ethan didn't speak at first. He set his towel down, sat beside Michael, elbows on knees, staring into the water as though it might hide him. They sat in silence long enough for Michael to hear the tremor in Ethan's breathing. Then Ethan whispered, barely audible. Are you sure you want this? Want me? Michael's heart tightened, not because the question hurt, but because he recognized the fear underneath. What happened? Ethan swallowed, voice barely more than breath. My sister asked why I've been smiling so much lately. Why I've been happy. She doesn't know about us, but she noticed. And I panicked. Michael waited, open, patient. Ethan's hands twisted together. You don't know what I'm like when things fall apart, he said. When I disappear into myself. When I get scared and push people away. I've ruined things before. Good things. His voice cracked. I don't want to ruin this. Michael didn't reach for him, not yet. He let the words settle between them like soft debris underwater. You think I'll leave when you show your cracks, Michael said gently. Ethan nodded, gaze fixed downward. Everyone else has. Michael sat closer, not touching, just present. Then let me see them, he said. Ethan blinked, startled by the permission. Michael continued, voice low, not demanding but inviting. You don't have to be perfect with me. I don't need polished edges or bright days only. I want the whole you, fear, doubt, softness, darkness included. Ethan exhaled, shaky, like releasing something long held. Michael's voice softened even further. You don't ruin things by feeling afraid. You ruin things by hiding. Ethan finally looked up, eyes damp, vulnerable, searching. And what if I falter? What if I mess up? What if one day I need space and don't know how to say it? Michael answered without hesitation. Then I'll stay if you ask. Or give you space if that's what you need. Connection isn't ownership, Ethan. It's choice. Every day a choice. For a moment Ethan couldn't speak. His throat worked around words he didn't know how to form. Then Michael did reach for him, slowly, openly, touch light as the first drop of rain. He placed his hand over Ethan's where it rested on his knee. Ethan didn't pull away. Instead, his fingers curled instinctively around Michael's, as though they had always meant to fit there. Ethan leaned into him, shoulder to shoulder. Sometimes I don't feel like enough, he murmured. Sometimes I feel too much. Michael turned his hand palm up and intertwined their fingers. I know that feeling, he admitted. I spent years thinking there was something wrong with how deeply I love. As if wanting connection made me weak. Ethan looked at him, really looked. What changed? Michael's voice held quiet truth. You did. Ethan's breath caught, small, shocked, tender. He hadn't expected to matter that much. He didn't know how to hold that kind of meaning, but he tried, leaning into the moment instead of fleeing from it. He whispered, barely a thread. I'm scared I'm falling in love with you. Michael's reply came like steady tide meeting shore. You don't have to say it without fear. Love is allowed to feel frightening. Ethan blinked hard, eyes shimmering. And you? He asked softly. What scares you? Michael exhaled and Ethan felt it against his cheek. That you could disappear, he admitted. That one day you'll decide I'm too old, too careful, too slow in the way I love. That you'll find someone brighter. Ethan's eyes widened, pain and disbelief blooming. Michael, no. You're the safest place I've ever found. You're steady in a way I've needed my whole life. Michael closed his eyes briefly, letting the words soften years of quiet doubt. Then we are two people afraid of losing something precious, he said. Ethan nodded, voice steadier now. So maybe we can be scared together. Michael smiled, gentle, real. We can. They entered the water slowly tonight, not with desire but with vulnerability. Their movements were close but unhurried, two hearts easing into shared honesty rather than heat. Ethan floated on his back while Michael supported lightly beneath his shoulders, hands steady, present. Ethan felt weightless, unguarded, trusting himself to rest in another's hold. I don't want to hide from you, he said quietly. You don't have to, Michael replied. Not now. Not ever. Ethan let out a long, trembling breath. I want to try, he whispered. I want to learn how to love without fear. Michael leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to Ethan's temple, letting it linger. We'll learn together, he promised. They stayed like that, water warm around them, truth gently anchoring instead of drowning. Fear hadn't driven them apart. It had been shared, spoken, welcomed. And in its place, something deeper took root. Not certainty. Not perfection. But trust. The kind that grows in quiet moments. The kind that survives doubt. The kind that becomes love not with fireworks, but with open hands and steady presence. And when they left the pool, walking side by side into cool night air, Ethan's hand found Michael's automatically, not gripping, not clinging, but choosing. Michael squeezed back, slow, warm, certain. Neither spoke the word love again. They didn't need to yet. It was already there, growing. The morning after their quiet confession, the world felt subtly different. Not louder, not brighter, but steadier. As if some invisible balance had clicked into place. Ethan woke with Michael's words still tucked behind his ribs like a heartbeat he could hold in his hand. Michael spent his morning thinking of Ethan not as a beautiful surprise, but as something real, someone he could plan a day, a week, a life around. They met at the pool again, but this time there was no hesitation in their steps. Ethan arrived first, sunlight cutting across the water like gold melted into turquoise. He stood on the tiled edge, toes curled forward, feeling excitement move through him like a pulse. When Michael entered, Ethan turned immediately, face open, unshielded. There were no shy greetings, no searching glances. Ethan walked straight to him and wrapped his arms around Michael's waist. It was simple, natural, like breathing. Michael returned the embrace, strong and sure, chin resting lightly on Ethan's hair. Neither needed to speak for a long moment. Finally Ethan's voice came, soft but unwavering. I want you in my life. Not just here. Not just in secret. Michael's breath caught, not out of fear but out of the pure weight of being wanted. Even with the difference between us? He asked. Ethan lifted his head and met his eyes, unflinching. I don't want someone my age, he said. I want you. The way you think. The patience you carry. The quiet. The depth. You make me feel safe and seen. And I've never had that before. Michael exhaled deeply, like something tight inside him finally released. And I want you, he replied, voice low with sincerity. You remind me what it means to feel alive again. You carry light in places I thought had gone dark forever. Ethan smiled, warm and fierce all at once. Then let's stop being afraid. Michael touched Ethan's cheek, brushing his thumb along jawline, gentle as a vow. Together, he agreed. They entered the pool side by side, bodies cutting through water like two rhythms learning to move as one. There was no hunger in their touches today, only love, steady and unfolding. Ethan swam ahead playfully, then turned back, floating, waiting for Michael to reach him. When Michael did, Ethan caught his hand beneath the surface. I used to think love should be intense, he confessed, voice rippling with reflection. Explosive. Dramatic. Like movies. And now? Michael asked. Ethan's fingers tightened just slightly. Now I think love is peace. The kind that lets me breathe. Michael's chest warmed, slow and spreading. I want to build a future with you, he said, words spoken without rehearsal because truth rarely needs it. Ethan blinked, stunned, not because he doubted the love, but because futures were things he had never planned with someone before. What kind of future? He asked softly. Michael's answer was not grand or cinematic. It was beautifully ordinary. Dinners, quiet nights, road trips with no destination. You working on designs while I photograph the light on your desk. Coffee in the mornings. Silly arguments over nothing. Real arguments that we survive. And here, this pool, always waiting for us. Ethan felt emotion rise in his throat, warm as sunlight on water. And holidays, he added. I want to decorate a tiny apartment with you. Burn cookies accidentally. Choose terrible ornaments we love anyway. Michael laughed, the sound rich and boyish, and Ethan felt it like a hand pressed against his heart. Yes, Michael said. All of it. They swam slowly, no rush, no urgency, just presence. When Ethan reached the shallow end, he stood and Michael came toward him, water sliding off both their bodies like silver threads. Ethan cupped Michael's face in both hands. Say it, Ethan whispered, not demanding but inviting. Michael held his gaze, eyes steady as tide. I love you, Ethan. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't need to be. It was truth finally spoken. Ethan's voice trembled, but only from fullness. And I love you, Michael. More than I ever expected to love anyone. The world seemed to pause around them, the hum of lights, the stillness of evening air, the gentle shifting of water. Ethan leaned in, pressed his lips softly to Michael's. It wasn't a first kiss or a hungry one, it was a promise. A beginning. They left the pool that night hand in hand, walking into the cool breeze like two souls who had stopped searching and finally found home. Under streetlights, Ethan leaned into Michael's shoulder, content. What do we tell people? Ethan asked. Michael smiled. The truth. That we chose each other. Ethan nodded, something determined in the set of his jaw. Yes. Let them wonder. Let them talk. We know what this is. Michael squeezed his hand, gentle but sure. They don't need to understand, he said. We do. And they did, not perfectly, not without fear, but with a tenderness built from honesty and courage. They crossed the parking lot slowly, neither wanting the night to end. Ethan stopped by Michael's car and turned to him fully. This isn't temporary, he said. No, Michael agreed. It's anything we're brave enough to make it. Ethan kissed him again, slow, deliberate, lasting. Something planted that would grow, watered by touch and time and everyday choices. When they finally parted, foreheads resting together, Ethan whispered, Tomorrow? Tomorrow? Michael echoed. And all the days after. They separated only long enough to breathe, to smile, to know they would come back to each other. Love didn't need fireworks. It needed honesty. Steadiness. Two men choosing every day to walk into the future side by side. And that is exactly what they did. Together.